Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are opening up a file that honestly usually makes people want to, I don't know, reorganize their sock drawer. Or maybe check their spam folder just to feel something.
You're not wrong.
We are talking about procurement.
And I can feel the listeners reaching for the skip button already.
Right. It has a reputation. It really, really does.
Yeah.
When you say procurement, most people, they picture a basement office, stacks of paper, red tape.
And a very stern
A
person.
very stern person whose entire job description is just saying no when you try to buy, like, the good coffee for the break room.
The Department of No. That is the classic stereotype, isn't it? The administrative bottleneck. The place where enthusiasm goes to die a slow, paperwork-filled death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting, the stack of research and reports we have on the desk today is telling a completely different story. It's painting a picture that is wildly different from that stereotype.
Oh, completely.
We are looking at what the industry itself is calling the procurement revolution.
It really is a revolution. And, I don't use that word lightly. The sources we're analyzing today, they show a fundamental shift, a huge one. We're moving from a world where procurement was a back office administrative task,
Just pushing paper.
just pushing paper, to a new reality where it is a strategic powerhouse that is absolutely central to business strategy.
So the mission of this deep dive is to explore that evolution. We want to understand how this function went from counting paper clips, basically, to sitting at the right hand of the CEO.
And to really validate that shift, you have to look at where we came from. For decades, decades, if you worked in procurement, your success was measured by a single number.
And that was
Cost savings, that's it.
the only metric. Seriously.
Pretty much. If you beat the supplier up on price and saved the company a nickel per unit, you were a hero.
Wow.
It didn't matter if the supplier hated you or if the quality was, borderline. As long as the spreadsheet showed a saving, you got a pat on the back.
But the world has obviously changed. So let's pose the central question right off the bat. Why is procurement suddenly sitting at the adults' table in the boardroom? Why are they involved in high-level strategy meetings now?
The answer, and this comes up again and again in our sources, involves three key themes: resilience, ethics, and innovation.
Okay.
It turns out that in a volatile world, the cheapest option isn't always the best option. In fact, sometimes the cheapest option can literally destroy your business.
Okay, let's unpack the drivers of this change, because this didn't just happen in a vacuum, right? Companies didn't just wake up one day and decide to be nicer to the purchasing department.
No, not at all. This was a forced evolution. The first, and I think most obvious driver was, it was global supply disruption.
I think we all felt that one personally. Empty shelves, cars waiting for chips, that sofa you ordered taking 8 months to deliver.
Exactly. But now think about what that did to a business. For 40 years, everyone ran on just-in-time bottles, lean inventories, don't hold stock, it costs money. That was the mantra.
Sure, efficiency.
But when the chains broke, those efficient companies had nothing to sell.
So the efficiency became a massive weakness.
Precisely. The realization hit hard across boardrooms everywhere. The cheapest supplier wasn't the safest. And that, right there, is a massive paradigm shift.
I can see how.
If you save 5% on a part, but the supplier can't deliver it for 3 months because of a disruption, you haven't saved money. You've lost your entire revenue stream.
That really puts it in perspective. Suddenly, speed and reliability became just as critical, if not
More critical
than price.
Then you add the other drivers our sources mention. There's increasing regulatory pressure, and of course, ESG expectations.
Environmental, social, and governance. We see that acronym everywhere now. But how did it force procurement to change?
In a word, liability. Governments are passing laws, especially in Europe, but also elsewhere, that say you are responsible for your supply chain.
So it's not enough to just...
You can't just plead ignorance. If your supplier, even 1, 3, or 4 tiers down the chain, is polluting a river or using forced labor, you are liable. You can't just say, oh, I didn't know, I just bought the widgets. That excuse is gone.
So procurement had to evolve from buying stuff to investigating stuff.
And managing risk. Then, of course, the last big driver is digital acceleration. The tools got better, which we'll definitely get into later. But the summary of all these drivers is this. The stakes got incredibly high.
It was adapt or die.
Procurement had to evolve or risk becoming completely irrelevant. If you're just the cost cutter in a world that needs risk managers, you're obsolete.
A Chinosaur.
Exactly.
Now, this isn't just a vibe shift, as they say. One of the things I found fascinating in the material is that this is being, well, it's being codified.
Yeah.
We are seeing a professional alignment with major bodies like CIPS and ISM.
These are the heavy hitters, the organizations that define what it means to be a professional in this space.
And for the listener, just so we're clear, let's define these. We have CIPS, which is the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply.
Right.
And ISM, the Institute for Supply Management. These aren't just, clubs. They are setting the new standards, right?
They're defining the framework for this new reality. They are basically publishing the blueprint and saying, this is what a modern professional looks like. And it's not just a person with a calculator and a telephone.
Okay, so let's break down the CIPS focus areas first. The source material lists 4 main pillars for them. The first one is leadership and strategy, which, again, sounds very, very different from buying widgets.
It's night and day. It means moving beyond the tactical buying of goods to actually leading the organizational direction.
So what does that mean in practice?
Well, historically, procurement was reactive. Engineering designs a new product, sales goes out and sells it, and then they throw a list of parts over the wall to procurement and say, go buy this and get it cheap.
And leadership and strategy implies they're in the room before the list is even made.
Yes, exactly. It's procurement being in that initial design meeting and saying, wait a minute, before you design it with that particular rare earth metal, you should know that the global market for that metal is incredibly volatile, and 90% of it is controlled by one country. Right. But if we use this new composite material instead, we have a safer, more diversified supply chain, and it's more sustainable. That's strategic input, not just order taking.
That's a huge value add. Okay, the second pillar for CIPS is supplier relationship management. This implies treating vendors as assets rather than just costs to be minimized.
This is the massive shift from vendor to partner. It's a change in mindset. If you treat a supplier like a vending machine, well, just kick it until the product comes out, they won't help you when things go wrong. And things will go wrong.
Right.
But if you manage that relationship, if you treat them fairly, you become a customer of choice. And that's a key concept in the reading.
Customer of choice.
Think about it. When there's a global shortage of a critical material, who gets the limited shipment? The company that beat them up for every last penny and paid them in 120 days?
Probably not.
Or the partner who has treated them fairly, paid on time, and collaborated with them? You want to be the one they answer the phone for.
You want to be first on the list.
First on the list every time.
The third pillar is ethics and governance. The source says responsible procurement is now a non-negotiable mandate.
And this ties right back to that ESG pressure we talked about. You cannot just buy from anyone anymore. You need to verify their labor practices, their carbon footprint, their financial health, their anti-bribery policies.
It's a huge due diligence job.
It is. Governance isn't just about preventing internal fraud anymore. It's about protecting the brand's soul and, frankly, its legal standing in a very complex world.
And the fourth pillar for CIPS is digital transformation, which is the move from paper to platform.
Which is absolutely essential for speed and for freeing up brainpower. You can't be strategic if you're buried in invoices and purchase orders. If you're spending 40 hours a week stamping bits of paper, you aren't analyzing geopolitical market risks. The machine has to handle the paper.
So that's the CIPS view. Now, how does ISM contrast or complement that? They seem to have a slightly different but related focus in the text.
ISM reinforces a lot of this, but uses slightly different terminology that is really instructive. They focus heavily on something they call strategic sourcing.
How is that different from just buying?
Buying is transactional. I need a pen, buy a pen. Strategic sourcing is holistic. It's a whole science.
Okay.
It asks, why do we need pens in the first place? Could we use digital tablets instead? Who makes the best, most sustainable pens? Can we consolidate our global pen buying with our paper buying to get into a better price tier with a strategic supplier? What is the long-term trend in the ink market? It's chess, not checkers.
I like that. ISM also lists risk and resilience as a core competency.
And that really is the new core competency. As we discussed, if the supply chain breaks, the business stops. Full stop. Leadership now looks to procurement not just to fix the break, but to have predicted it, to have had a plan B and maybe a plan C already in place.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is. They also mentioned technology-enabled procurement and talent development.
That talent piece feels really important.
It's absolutely crucial because you need a new type of professional. We aren't just looking for good negotiators anymore. We need data analysts, risk assessors, relationship managers, even sustainability experts. The skill set has expanded massively.
So, to synthesize this for the listener,
Yeah.
what does this alignment between CIPS and ISM practically mean? If I'm a CEO, why do I care about these standards?
You care because it means that procurement is now explicitly responsible for business continuity. That's the key phrase.
Business continuity.
When you align with these standards, you aren't just running a department, you are building a safety net for the entire company. The expectation has shifted from, did you save money, to, did you keep the business running safely and ethically through the storm?
That is a massive weight on their shoulders.
Mhm.
So let's move into the mechanics of how they actually do this. The source material outlines what it calls the 3 pillars of the procurement revolution. Let's start with pillar 1, data and AI over gut feeling.
This is one of my favorite parts of this whole evolution because it exposes the, let's call it the dark art of the old days.
Yeah, I know a guy era.
Exactly. For a long, long time, sourcing decisions were made on relationships or, intuition. I feel like this vendor is good, or, well, we've always used them. It was very anecdotal.
But the revolution is about replacing that intuition with hard evidence.
100%. We are moving from I feel to the data says this vendor is safe, reliable, and compliant.
The key concepts our sources list here are spend analytics, predictive risk, and AI-driven sourcing. Let's start with spend analytics. It sounds kind of basic, but do companies really not know where their money goes?
You would be shocked. In large, complex organizations, you have something called maverick spend.
I love that term. It sounds like a movie pilot.
It's a lot less cool than it sounds. It's when the marketing department buys a huge software subscription on a credit card, or the HR team hires a consultant without going through central purchasing.
So it's spending that's off the books, in a way.
It's off the controlled books. The company is bleeding money and doesn't know it. They lose out on volume discounts. They have no visibility into the risk of that supplier, and they can't manage the relationship.
So spend analytics is about plugging those leaks.
It's about gathering all that data into one place to know exactly where every single dollar goes. You can't manage what you can't see, and for the first time, they can see everything.
Okay, then there's predictive risk. This sounds like crystal ball territory.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's getting closer than you'd think. It's about using data, using AI to foresee out disruptions before they actually happen.
How does that work?
Imagine a system that is constantly scanning. Well, everything. It's tracking weather patterns, political instability reports, labor strike announcements, financial reports of all your key suppliers, cargo ship locations, all in real time.
So it might pop up with an alert saying, hey, there is a typhoon forming near the port where your main chip supplier is located.
Exactly that. Or your key Tier 2 supplier just missed their earnings report for the second quarter and their credit rating just dropped. The system flags it, and you, the human, can make a call. You can start shifting volume to a backup supplier before the first shipment fails. That's resilience. It's proactive, not reactive.
And finally, under this pillar, AI-driven sourcing.
This is about letting algorithms guide decision-making for complex efficiency questions. Say you need to ship a container from Shanghai to Rotterdam. There are literally thousands of variables. Fuel cost, different routes, port congestion, customs clearance times, carbon emissions for each route, even the risk of piracy in certain waters.
A human can't possibly calculate all of that.
A human can compare maybe 3 or 4 good options. An AI can compare 10,000 options in a second and come back and say, option A is the cheapest, option B is 2% more expensive, but it's 5 days faster and has 50% less carbon emissions. Option C has the lowest overall risk profile. It gives you the trade-offs.
It sounds like we're giving the procurement officer superpowers.
We are replacing gut feeling with calculated precision. It's a game changer.
Okay, let's move to pillar 2. From vendors to partners. We touched on this, but let's go a little deeper. The source talks about a real shift in language and mindset.
The language shift is so important. It's from beating up a vendor for the lowest price to supplier collaboration.
The sources mention phrases like co-innovation and shared value creation. What does that look like in the wild? Can you give an example?
Sure. In a complex world, you need suppliers who are actually invested in your success. not just trying to close a sale. Co-innovation means you might go to a packaging supplier and say, we have this problem, our product is great, but the packaging uses too much plastic and it's too heavy, which increases our shipping costs. How can we solve this together?
Instead of just sending them a drawing and saying, build this to these exact specs.
Right. You leverage their R&D. You treat them as the expert they are. Maybe they come back with a new design using a mushroom-based material that's lighter and compostable. That's innovation you wouldn't have gotten on your own.
And what about shared value creation?
That's about aligning incentives. It's
Yeah.
powerful. Let's say that new packaging design the supplier came up with saves your company $1 million a year in shipping costs.
Right.
The old model says, thanks, we'll take that $1 million. The shared value model says, you helped us find that saving, so we are going to share a piece of it with you. You give them a bonus or a better contract.
And what does that do?
It motivates them to constantly be looking for more innovations for you. It changes the entire dynamic from adversarial to cooperative.
You're turning a zero-sum game into a positive-sum game.
You've hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it.
Okay, this brings us to pillar 3, governance without bureaucracy. Now, this one sounds like a paradox. It sounds like an oxymoron. How do you have rules and governance without slowing everything down?
This is the holy grail. I mean, it's the challenge every large organization faces. The key concept here, according to the sources, is embedded ethics and compliance.
What does embedded mean in this context? Is it just a buzzword?
No, it's a real architectural choice. It means the rules shouldn't be bolted on as an afterthought. Think about the old world. You do all the work, find the supplier, negotiate the deal, get everyone excited, and then at the very end, someone from compliance or legal would step in and say, wait, stop everything. You need to fill out these 10 forms.
The dreaded bottleneck.
Yeah.
The deal killer.
Right. Embedded means the compliance checks are built into the digital process itself right from the start.
How so?
The system won't even show you a supplier in your search results if they haven't passed the basic modern slavery check. You literally cannot click the next button in the software to create a contract unless the supplier's insurance certificate is valid and uploaded. You can't generate a purchase order unless their bank details have been independently verified.
So it's basically impossible to make a non-compliant mistake. The system won't let you.
Exactly. And the huge side benefit of this is that it solves for auditability. This is absolutely crucial for modern ESG standards. If a regulator comes knocking a year from now and asks, how did you verify that this supplier in Vietnam wasn't using child labor? Well, you don't have to panic and dig through filing cabinets.
You just pull up the record.
You have a perfect, time-stamped digital trail of every single check, every approval, every decision. It's defensible.
This leads us perfectly into the next section of our deep dive, the role of technology and automation. Because you can't have this embedded governance without the tech, right?
It's absolutely impossible to do manually at scale. You can't have a human being checking the insurance certificates of 10,000 suppliers every single day.
Right.
You need a system.
The source material poses a great challenge here. It says, in a fast-moving market, compliance usually acts as a brake. How does modern procurement solve this fundamental tension?
The solution is what we just talked about, designing governance into the process. And this brings us to a really important distinction the sources make, which is the automation versus human split.
Okay, I like this. Let's break that split down. What does the machine do and what does the human do?
So the automation, the AI, it handles the controls, all the box ticking, the verification, the standard checks.
Oh, black and white stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Binary questions, yes or no. Does this vendor have the right ISO certification? Yes. Are they on a government sanctions list? No. Is their bank account valid? Yes. A machine can check that in milliseconds across thousands of databases without getting tired or making a mistake.
And that leaves the human to do what?
Humans focus on judgment, the gray areas, the nuance, relationship management, strategic alignment.
Can you give me an example of that judgment call?
Sure. The machine might serve up 2 suppliers and say, both of these vendors are financially stable, fully compliant, and have the certifications you need. They look identical on paper.
Okay.
But a human procurement leader has to sit down with their teams and say, okay, on paper they look great, but which one shares our company's values? Is their culture of innovation going to mesh with ours for a 5-year strategic partnership? Who has the better long-term vision?
A robot can't feel that out in a meeting.
Not yet, anyway. That's human judgment. That's strategy.
I really like the analogy that comes up in the reading, that compliance becomes an enabler of speed, not a blocker. It's like putting safety rails on a highway.
That's the perfect image. It's exactly that. If you have strong guardrails, you can drive much faster because you aren't constantly afraid of flying off a cliff.
Right.
If the system is automatically handling all the safety checks in the background, the procurement team can move at the speed of business without worrying about accidentally breaking a law or hiring a risky supplier.
Now, of course, we have to address the elephant in the room. We always do when we talk about this stuff. The AI reality check. With all this automation, all this efficiency, is the robot coming for the procurement professional's job?
The source material is very, very clear on this, and I love the quote they use. It's so good. It says, AI won't replace procurement professionals.
Okay.
Procurement professionals who use AI will replace those who don't.
Ah, that is such a vital distinction. So it's not a replacement of the human, it's an evolution of the human's role.
It's a call to upskill. It's a massive call to action. The tool is neutral. The user provides the value. Look, if your entire job right now is manually checking invoices against purchase orders to see if the numbers match, then yes, your job is in danger.
Because the robot does that better, faster, and cheaper.
Right. But if you can use the AI to do that grunt work for you, freeing you up to analyze the data, spot a trend, and then use your human brain to go negotiate a better strategic agreement with a key partner, you just became 10 times more valuable, not less.
So let's look at who this new human is. This leads to our next section. The new procurement leader profile. We are moving, as the source says, beyond the negotiator.
The old image is the tough negotiator, right? The person who slams their fist on the table and demands an extra 2% discount just for the sake of it.
The table banger.
Exactly. That person is becoming a dinosaur. The modern leader, according to all our sources, is a hybrid. They're a mix of 4 distinct roles. They are a risk manager, a data interpreter, a business partner, and a governance champion.
Let's unpack those hats.
Yeah.
Risk manager, we've talked about that quite a bit. It's about constantly scanning the horizon for trouble.
Right. The second one, data interpreter, is huge. It's not just about having the data from all these new systems, it's about translating it into wisdom.
From data to insight.
Precisely. It's being able to look at a spend analysis and say, this data tells us we are dangerously overexposed to suppliers in the South China Sea region, and then turning that observation into a concrete diversification strategy.
And the third hat, business partner.
This is all about alignment. It's about deeply understanding and aligning purchasing decisions with the company's overall goals.
Can you give an example of misalignment?
Absolutely. Let's say the company's #1 strategic goal is speed to market because you're launching a new phone and you need to beat your competitor, but procurement's only goal, their only metric, is lowest cost. So they buy the slow boat shipping from Asia because it's cheaper.
Oh, I see the problem.
You're saving pennies on shipping to lose millions, maybe billions in sales because your competitor got to market first.
Yeah, saving pennies to lose dollars.
Exactly. The business partner understands the main goal, speed, and buys the right shipping, even if it's more expensive, to support that overarching strategy.
And finally, the fourth hat, governance champion.
This is about holding the ethical line. It's ensuring that the company isn't just profitable, but that it's principled. In a transparent world, they are the guardians of the brand's reputation, making sure every dollar spent aligns with the company's values.
It's a much more dynamic, much more strategic role. The value proposition is totally shifted.
Yeah.
They manage more than money now. They manage resilience.
That is the word of the day, resilience. In the modern capability model, a procurement leader's value is defined by their ability to combine data, governance, and strategy. If you can do that, you are invaluable to the C-suite. You are no longer a cost center, you are a core strategic asset.
So let's try to bring this all home. Let's summarize the journey we've been on in this deep dive. We moved from the stereotype of the cost cutter
The Department of No.
to the strategic powerhouse.
We saw the rise of the 3 pillars, data and AI replacing that old gut feeling, true partnerships replacing transactional, often adversarial vendor relationships.
And that idea of agile governance that actually speeds things up rather than slowing them down.
And through it all, we learned that the core metric has changed. It's not just about savings anymore. It's about buying smarter, safer, and more responsibly.
The cheapest supplier isn't always the safest.
If there is one sentence to take away from this entire deep dive, it is that one. Burn it into your brain.
So I want to leave the listener with a final provocation, something to chew on. If you are sitting there, maybe running a business or working in one, and you are still strictly measuring your procurement team by cost savings, you are already behind.
Absolutely. You're fighting last year's war. The revolution isn't coming. It's here. The question you have to ask yourself is this. Is your organization treating procurement as a back-office function, a necessary evil to be minimized? Or as a strategic partner that literally ensures your business can survive the next crisis?
Because in a world of constant supply chain chaos, that difference might just be the difference between thriving and failing. The message is clear. Think beyond savings.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for diving deep with us today on the Procurement Revolution. It turns out the so-called paperwork people are actually the secret agents keeping the whole operation running. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.